Just to kind of piggyback on that question, I heard the perspective of being a police officer and dealing with the victims and that. But your years as a police officer, will that allow you to be impartial when those defendants come before you? And also, what made you challenge Judge Hedger? Was it something particularly that he did, or how he was handling things on the bench? What made you decide to run against him?
Excellent question. Okay, the first part, the impartiality, I totally understand that perspective too. Being a police officer, it seems like you're actually on one side of the law and then the defense attorneys are on the other. The truth of the matter is, as a police officer, I'm seeking truth out there. I'm not really going to someone's house saying, who am I taking to jail now? Or what bad guy is out here? I'm going to people's houses trying to help them solve their problems. All of us are trained, and my goal when I teach my officers that I supervise now, I tell them, you know what? You need to look at all sides of the equation. You need to talk to the victims, talk to the suspects, go interview independent witnesses, and find the truth of the matter. As police, we really want to look at the truth. Our basic premise is what happened, not, and we understand. Somebody says this, they have a perspective. Somebody else says this, they have a perception. So we take all that and we try to boil it down and synthesize to the truth. That's what being a judge is about. Finding the truth by the evidence submitted by the prosecution and the defense. So I think that perfectly prepares me to step into that role. The second part of the question was what made me challenge that. I'm glad you asked that. The Henderson Police Officers Association, members of they're my friends. They're the people who actually are responsible for me being here. I always had the desire to be a judge, but they came to me and asked me a very important question. They said, you know what, we want, and the people deserve out there, to have a judge who respects us as police officers. And the thing about this is, and it's a difficult thing to talk about, but Judge Hedger has not been supportive of the police. And the reason I say that is, on February 1st, 2006, Sergeant Henry Prendez of the Metropolitan Police Department was shot and killed in the line of duty. He was murdered responding to a domestic violence call. On February 7th, 2006, nearly every court in the valley was vacated so officers could attend that funeral. But Judge Hedger did not vacate his court. And there were 5 Henderson police officers who were unable to go salute the casket as it passed by. They were unable to participate in the procession, and they were unable to see a fallen brother laid to rest. That, and other stories that they've told me, led me to believe that we need a change. And I'm a person who honestly believes that police do a dangerous job, because I've been there and I've done that. And we need to respect that job, and we need to give them that from the bench.
I have a follow-up. Yeah, I just have a follow-up.
I was dying to get back.
We all have follow-ups
It
here.
was my question.
Oh, was it?
Yes, thank you. It was my question. I can definitely empathize with the officers that were unable to attend the funeral, but I can say personally I'm a strong constitutionalist, and I can understand Judge Hedger's reasoning in that there's a due process. So those people and defendants that are waiting to go to court would have to wait and be rescheduled to get their due process. So on that note, I mean, being a judge, it's about upholding the Constitution and being able to not just weigh your emotions, but the law as well. Are you able to do that as a judge?
I think absolutely I'm able to do that. I think every day when I deal with offenders and people, I have to put my emotions in check and I have to look at the evidence. It's not an issue of emotion. Matter of fact, I've been to some of the most traumatic scenes that probably anybody can imagine. You have to put your emotions in check and take action and deal with what happens in front of you. Say A, B, C, you follow it down the line till it leads to the conclusion. And that experience as being a police officer is invaluable in allowing me to put my emotions in check and understand what are the facts presented before me, how does the law apply to these facts.
Paul Jackson.
Judge, I would like to give you an opportunity to explain this, because obviously this got to be a good reason for you to do these things, and maybe you can explain some of the things why the Henderson Police Department doesn't like it. I know that police officers sometimes giving testimony, they're human beings, sometimes they make mistakes, sometimes they're just wrong. But if you can, give us an answer or give us your statement.
I would appreciate the opportunity to do that. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's unfortunate that I guess even in judges' races, sometimes mud is thrown, and that really is unfortunate, because of all types of campaigns, this should be one that's above that. I would like to respond to it though, and the statement that my opponent made that caught my ear right away is, and other stories that they've told me is why I'm running. In court, we call that hearsay, and it's information that you do not have firsthand knowledge about. And let me tell you about the day when Sergeant Prenda's had his funeral. I had approximately 6 to 7 trials on that day. All but one were continued, specifically so that officers could go to that funeral. There was one trial, an individual in custody had invoked a speedy trial, was in for a second domestic battery. His attorney would not agree to a continuance. I would have to release him from custody if I continued the case. Now here's the rest of the story. My court sessions are at 10 in the morning. The sergeant's funeral started, I believe, at 11, the procession at 11. I told the defense attorney and prosecutor, we will start this trial at 1 o'clock so the officers can go to this funeral. Now at 1 o'clock we started that trial with the lay witnesses, because the funeral was still going on. It didn't start until 2 o'clock. It was not until 4:30 in the afternoon that the officers came and testified after the funeral. So, hearsay is, it's just amazing to me that somebody running for judge can get sucked into something like that with hearsay. Now, in response to the second part of the question, of course there are police officers not happy with me. There are defense attorneys not happy with me. There are prosecutors not happy with me. As a judge, I do not sit and make a decision worrying about who's going to be upset with me. I would never make a decision. I sit as a fair and impartial magistrate. I have a reputation of being fair and impartial, and even the people who do not necessarily always win in the courtroom, they know they'll get a fair hearing. Somebody always loses in court. That's what happens. You have a winner and a loser. And if you lose, you're not happy. But I think most people want to know that they can come into court and get a fair hearing. And in my court, you get a fair hearing. I'm routinely rated, receive high ratings from attorneys on the judges' surveys. That's prosecutors and defense attorneys. In the last judges poll, I received a 75% retention rate. We've seen over the last couple of years with Congress and presidents, retention ratings down in the 30% level. So I'm proud to have a 75% rating and to know that individuals recognize that they may win, they may lose, but they'll get a fair hearing.
Thank you.